Hello, ladies and gentlemen. If you are new here, kindly subscribe the channel for further moral stories. Tamar, the tragic story of King David's daughter. In the royal courts of Jerusalem, King David ruled over Israel with wisdom and strength. Among his many children was a daughter named Tamar, a young woman of extraordinary beauty and grace. She was the sister of Absalom, a prince of Israel, and beloved by her family. But tragedy was about to strike her life in a way she never could have imagined. A brother's deception. Tamar had a half-brother named Amnon, the eldest son of King David. Amnon was captivated by Tamar's beauty, but his love for her was not pure. It was driven by selfish desire. Day by day, he became obsessed with her, to the point that he grew physically sick. One of Amnon's friends, a cunning man named Jonadab, noticed his distress and asked, "Why are you, the king's son, so miserable?" Amnon confided in him, saying, "I am in love with Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister." Jonadab devised a wicked plan. "Pretend to be ill," he advised. "When your father comes to see you, ask him to send Tamar to prepare food for you. Then you will have an opportunity to be alone with her." Blinded by his own desires, Amnon followed Jonadab's advice. He lay in bed and pretended to be sick. When King David came to check on him, Amnon said, "Please let my sister Tamar come and make bread before me so that I may eat from her hand." Not suspecting any evil, David agreed and sent Tamar to Amnon's house. A sister betrayed Tamar, innocent and kind-hearted, came to Amnon's house, prepared the food, and brought it to him. But as soon as she approached him, Amnon grabbed her and said, "Come, lie with me, my sister." Shocked and horrified, Tamar resisted. "No, my brother," she cried. "Do not do such a disgraceful thing. Such wickedness should not be done in Israel. And where could I take my shame? And you would be like one of the wicked fools in Israel. Speak to the king. He will not withhold me from you." But Amnon refused to listen. Overcome by his own lust, he forced himself upon her, violating her purity and destroying her innocence. When his sinful passion was satisfied, his love turned to hatred. The Bible says that Amnon hated her even more than he had once loved her. He ordered his servant, "Get this woman out of my sight and bolt the door behind her." Tamar, now disgraced and devastated, pleaded with him, "This evil in sending me away is worse than what you have already done to me." But Amnon showed her no mercy. A brother's revenge. Tamar tore her beautiful robe, the garment of a virgin princess of Israel, and put ashes on her head, weeping bitterly. She went to her brother Absalom, who saw her distress and said, "Has Amnon your brother been with you? Be silent for now, my sister. He is your brother. Do not take this to heart." But Absalom burned with rage against Amnon. When King David heard what had happened, he was furious, but he did nothing to punish Amnon. For 2 years, Absalom waited, plotting his revenge. Then, when the time was right, he invited all the king's sons to a feast. When Amnon was drunk, Absalom's servant struck him down, killing him in cold blood. Fearing his father's wrath, Absalom fled and went into exile for 3 years. Though David mourned for Amnon, his heart was also broken for Tamar, whose life was shattered by this evil act. The legacy of Tamar's tragedy. Tamar's story is one of deep sorrow and injustice. She was a victim of betrayal, lust, and violence. Left to live in desolation while her father failed to bring justice. Her tragic fate became a turning point in King David's household, leading to division, revenge, and ultimately the downfall of Absalom. Yet, Tamar's story is a reminder of God's heart for the broken. He sees the pain of those who have been wronged. He is a God of justice and mercy, and though earthly rulers may fail, he will never abandon those who suffer. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. Tamar's story reminds us to seek justice, to protect the innocent, and to trust in God, who will one day wipe away every tear. Amnon's deception and sin. Amnon, the eldest son of King David and heir to the throne of Israel, developed an obsessive desire for his half-sister Tamar. She was the daughter of King David and Maacah, making her the full sister of Absalom. Tamar was known for her beauty and purity, and Amnon, rather than seeking honorable ways to express his feelings, allowed his lust to consume him. Over time, his obsession made him physically sick. He became weak and miserable because he could not have Tamar. His friend and cousin Jonadab, a crafty and manipulative man, noticed his distress and inquired about the cause. When Amnon revealed his infatuation with Tamar, Jonadab devised a deceitful plan. He suggested that Amnon pretend to be ill and request that Tamar personally prepare food for him, knowing that this would provide an opportunity to be alone with her. Amnon followed Jonadab's advice. He lay in bed feigning illness, and when King David came to check on him, Amnon requested that Tamar come to his house to make food for him. Unsuspecting of his son's evil intentions, David agreed and sent Tamar to Amnon's house. Tamar, kind and dutiful, prepared food for Amnon with care. However, when she brought it to him, he refused to eat and instead commanded everyone else to leave the room. Once they were alone, he grabbed her and said, "Come, lie with me, my sister." Tamar was horrified and immediately resisted. She pleaded with him, saying, "No, my brother, do not force me, for such a thing should not be done in Israel. Do not do this disgraceful thing. And where could I take my shame? And as for you, you would be like one of the wicked fools in Israel. Please, speak to the king, for he will not withhold me from you." 2 Samuel 13:12-13. But Amnon refused to listen. Overcome by his sinful desires, he forcefully violated Tamar. His actions were not motivated by love, but by lust and selfishness. As soon as he had satisfied his wicked desire, his feelings turned to hatred. The Bible says that Amnon hated her with a hatred greater than the love with which he had loved her. 2 Samuel 13:15. In a final act of cruelty, Amnon cast Tamar out of his house, shattering her dignity and leaving her devastated. This sinful act not only ruined Tamar's life, but also set into motion a tragic chain of events that would lead to his own death and bring turmoil to King David's household. Tamar's desolation. After being cruelly violated by Amnon, Tamar was left in a state of deep grief and devastation. She had come to his house as an innocent and dutiful sister, but she left as a broken woman, dishonored and cast aside. Amnon, who once claimed to love her, now despised her and ordered his servant to throw her out. He treated her not as a person, but as something to be discarded. Tamar pleaded with him, saying that sending her away was even worse than what he had already done to her. 2 Samuel 13:16. In that culture, a woman who had lost her purity outside of marriage was often seen as disgraced, no matter the circumstances. Amnon's actions had not only violated her body, but had also destroyed her future. By expelling her from his house, he ensured that she would live in shame, with little hope of marriage or restoration. In utter sorrow, Tamar tore her special robe, the garment worn by royal virgins, symbolizing that her innocence had been stripped from her. She put ashes on her head, a sign of mourning, and went away crying loudly. The once joyful and beautiful princess of Israel was now a symbol of sorrow and injustice. Tamar sought refuge in the house of her brother Absalom, who immediately understood what had happened. He told her, "Has Amnon, your brother, been with you? Be silent for now, my sister. He is your brother. Do not take this to heart." 2 Samuel 13:20. But these words could not undo the pain she carried. The Bible states that Tamar lived in her brother Absalom's house desolate. 2 Samuel 13:20. She never married, and her life was forever marked by the cruelty she had suffered. Her father, King David, was furious when he heard what had happened, but tragically, he did nothing to punish Amnon. This lack of justice deepened the wounds and set the stage for Absalom's eventual revenge. Absalom's revenge. When Absalom, Tamar's full brother, learned of Amnon's terrible crime, he was furious. He immediately understood what had happened when he saw his sister's torn robe, the ashes on her head, and the sorrow in her eyes. Though he comforted her, saying, "Be silent for now, my sister. He is your brother. Do not take this to heart." 2 Samuel 13:20. his heart burned with anger and a desire for justice. Despite his rage, Absalom did not act immediately. Instead, he remained patient and calculated his next move. He took Tamar into his house, where she lived in isolation and disgrace. Meanwhile, their father, King David, heard about the terrible crime and was enraged. However, despite his fury, he did nothing to punish Amnon. As the king, he had the authority to bring justice, but whether out of weakness, favoritism toward his firstborn, or guilt from his own past sins, David remained silent. This lack of action only deepened Absalom's resentment. For 2 years, Absalom hid his hatred for Amnon. He spoke nothing of the crime, giving no indication of his true feelings. But in his heart, he was plotting